Hi, my name is Jonathan Hop, and this is the Sunday Lessons website. And today was an exciting match between the top Chinese player, probably the top human player right now. His name is Kujie. Kujie is about 20 years old. He is a top Chinese player, probably top player in the world. He is just an amazing guy. I review his games a lot, but though they're extremely complicated. He got the honor of playing AlphaGo in a three-game match this week, and pretty much everyone in the Go world is extremely excited, as am I. I stayed up, obviously, to see the game, even though it's on Chinese time. They're 12 hours ahead, so I stayed up for everything. It was an amazing game, but one thing I noticed is that while the pros seem to they understand the moves, they understand what's going on with the game. It's hard to figure out like how do you beat AlphaGo? Like how do you? It's not like AlphaGo won by like a whole heck of a lot. I mean, it was a pretty sizable margin for a pro. I think he won by Comey. But what do you do? Like you know what you should be doing in general, but what exact move do you play that was able to defeat AlphaGo? Because AlphaGo wins so effortlessly and so flexibly. So let's kind of take a look at the game, and I'll kind of explain what I mean. I think I have some maybe ideas for Kujia. Of course, I'm nowhere near his strength, but I kind of wanted to like share my thoughts on the first game while my thoughts are still fresh. All right, so Kujia is black and white is AlphaGo. And Kujia started off with this 3 point, which in the 60 games for AlphaGo when he played Master online, for those of you who don't know, AlphaGo played about 60 or so games with professionals online, but those are speed games, so there's like very, very little time to think for each move. This game had 3 hours thinking time, so there's plenty of time for Kujia. Kujia ended the match with a lot of time on his clock. In those 60 games where AlphaGo basically just slaughtered all of his opponents, I don't think one game had Black starting off at the 3 point. They pretty much they all had star points and 3 4 points. So this is a new strategy, and I think Kuche is going mainly for territory right off the bat. I think he's going to try to counteract basically AlphaGo's influence, but I kind of think this backfired a little bit. I'll go into why I think that later. All right, Black plays this large corner enclosure. No one plays this anymore, especially after the Master games. The large corner enclosure is the way to go. This move, I used to like this move as a 15Q when I was just starting the game. This move was excellent. Now it's back in fashion because Master enjoys it very much. Right, and then we have the first startling move of the game, but this time by the human player. Kuche invades a 3 point, which I distinctly remember. Well, I was like 12Q or so, and I used to like to invade the 3 point, and I was always told, don't invade the 3 point unless there's wings. What that means is don't invade the 3 point unless you have like a white stone here or a white stone like somewhere around A or B. That invading there early is just terrible, and then Master does it, AlphaGo does it, and then it's suddenly okay. So white blocks this side. This is of course the right side of the block. There's no blocking this way doesn't make any sense because there's no white stones in the upper right. So we block. And then white plays here, which is cool. So basically, black could play this, but I think white gets Sente after this. If I were white, I would play something to this effect because the left side of the board is very big. So black playing this forces white to answer because if white plays this and black splits through white shape, and that's terrible. Right, we block. Right, white comes under. I wonder myself if it would have been better to play something like to this effect. Like white gets more. Maybe this is bad for black actually. I kind of feel you want to get the right side. Like I feel like in the game, black got sort of pushed down on this edge, and I don't think black really wants. I think black wants to somehow get out on the right side. Even if that means like maybe sacrificing something, but this is maybe about too much because if this happens, then white will capture 3 stones in the corner, and the corner is huge. But black does get a nice thickness here, but that's a little bit bad for black. Black played here in the game, okay, and white of course is going to double Hani on this side. Now if black takes the stone, that's really terrible for black, so that's not an option. Kutsia comes up with a really cool move, which is this cut. Normally you would just take and then white would probably just connect here. Then white's very thick on the outside. This would be very nice for white. These black stones, the inside have no influence on the rest of the board. Black cuts though, and now this black stone, its very nature, creates a cutting point A. But what is really amazing about this game is just the positional judgment that AlphaGo shows. So black plays the left side. This is all. There's nothing like true like jaw dropping yet until we get to this move. And this move, I think, could you can see on his face, was a little bit weird. It's a ladder breaker, obviously. So black comes out, then white can capture black in the ladder. But normally you would just take, but not taking means that this stone actually like does more than just take this stone ladder breaker. It expands towards the right, it expands in the center, it reduces black from like a distance. Is a pretty good move. Okay, black plays here. I thought this was really aggressive. I like this move. White is undercutting the black stone here. In the game, black pincer, which is kind of the first move you think about in this instance. You want to try to attack the white stone. But what I thought, and maybe this is a horrible, awful move, and probably pro would laugh at me. But since white, I feel like this cut isn't like this cut in the game turned out to be like not really all that significant. White was perfectly okay with letting black get this squeeze. So since this cut is not that significant, and since this looks like very deep, I thought that black should try to build some strength so it would be easier to invade the lower side. So to attack white from the outside, maybe capping like this. If white decides he wants to just make life, you can continue covering the center, and I think this is a pretty strong way for black to play. Right, black played this again. This is what I would think of first. Kick, and here's the cool move. Normally you just play like this. Whenever someone kicks you, the first thing you think about is just, hey, I'll descend. But this way, it's a little bit difficult because black gets out ahead of white. We saw this variation from Michael Redman's commentary. White played this, and this is a really cool move. Basically, the aim is, of course, if black plays this, then white gets to push down on black. And so this way, white gets to make a kind of a shape towards the outside, and this is the upper side and the right side are where black wants to make a larger enclosure, like a larger territorial framework. It's going to be really difficult with white's very strong, like close by. Black decided to fight, and so far this looks okay to me. It looks like it's really kind of one of those things where it's like AlphaGo sees deeper. AlphaGo, what makes it really special is it understands the value of outside influence, right? So it's most time when you take outside influence, you're giving up territory and you're basically making a gamble. But AlphaGo isn't really making a gamble because it knows how much it got. So I kind of feel like AlphaGo, on some level, swindled black some kind of way here because like follow my reasoning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With these 6 stones, you've captured how much in the corner? You've captured a good amount of the corner, right? So like if you get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 10, 12-ish points in the corner with 6 moves. And there's a little bit of Aji, but this upper left corner is fairly solid. This center for black is actually really narrow if you think about it. There's 4 stones here, but they're in a very narrow space. And while that might make black strong if they die, they're facing a much more it's a huge depth to white's framework at the bottom. Whereas with these stones very strong, the top actually becomes very easy for white to play moves like this, or even a bit further away like he did in the game. And the top side isn't so strong because white's so strong in this side. This is what I'm talking about. I feel like white swindled black, and that white knew that what black got out of here wasn't as big as it seemed. Alright, so white plays here, which is setting up for the peep at the surprise move. This move I had no idea where this came from. This is another move. Like, remember how I said earlier in the lecture that if I invade the 3-3 point as like a 15Q and I got yelled at by like stronger players, this is a move I probably would also get yelled at by stronger players, because this is one of those things where they say, you're not supposed to peep at a spot where it's not really that important if it's cut, right? And this is what it looks like. It looks like this group at A, I'll mark it, Looks like this group at A is like just doing nothing because even if if white comes out, right? If white just like comes out like this, if the worst comes to worst, if we're just dying and we don't know how to fight, black can always play here and black is alive. There's no that's like the fail safe move, right? Black can just live. So it looks like those stones just are totally like meaningless. Like they're just dead. It looked like just white gave them up, and I was really wondering how white was going to make up for that death. But if you think about this, this is a really narrow area, and if white can get all of the outside, then black's over concentrated, and they're sacrifice stones. And I was in awe of that. So white played here, which was shocking because black doesn't need to necessarily be worried about the cut. Black played this, and this is really difficult to answer this move. You kind of want to play elsewhere at some point, but you kind of don't. So what I mean by this is I kind of feel like, I want to play somewhere else. I want to strengthen my lower position. But then like you have like this weird stuff like what happens when white starts to cut you. You have like this weird stuff that happens when you start getting cut here. Then this cut becomes pretty bad as soon as more stones come around you. So on the one hand, it feels like this is not sentient. Like you could just play here and or like play somewhere else and you could probably get away with it. So in the game could have played this, which is solid, but at the same time, I felt it was over concentrated. Like look how narrow this space is. This is the border of his territory so far, and it's really really narrow. Whereas white's was much wider, right? So it starts here, and his zone of control is all in this area. I just feel like black is far more narrow than white is. So it feels like it's a sacrifice in order to make your opponent over concentrated. White played here. And here's the cut. And again, weirdness. I don't see this as being Sente. I think black can just play elsewhere. Like if black tries to strengthen his lower group, I don't know what white does. White can try to the Hane, that doesn't really work. Black can block. White can block. I mean, if you really were afraid of something, white has 1, 2, 3, 4 liberties. Oh, maybe there is something. Black would have 3. So maybe black would do this Hane. Black would play here first. This doesn't really seem to help anything. Maybe there is. Maybe that black plays elsewhere. White plays here. Black plays here. White plays here. Black can come out. White can't cut. Maybe that's what thing black can do. Then black can come out like this. I mean, this might get stuck into a really ugly shape, but I don't see that there's something what white can do to kill black. I mean, even if he does like just something totally stubborn, at every given point, all of black's cutting stones, all of these stones, this group at A, this group at B and C, none of them are in any like immediate danger of dying. Like if black ignores, he's not going to be killed in one more move. So that's why it's like, what is this? This is cutting, but it's, the cut creates some potential, but it's very difficult potential to see. But later in the game, you kind of realize, like, yeah, it died, but these, like, even a few moves in the center are all white needed in order to change the way the fight went. And it was so subtle, but was so interesting. So black invaded, and this seems difficult. He'll take the corner, but in the same time he'll make the outside really strong. So this is the only move. You don't play this. Black will come under and connect, and that's terrible. That's too easy for black. You must smash through him. This I thought was probably too. Yeah, this is too much. It's too much to fight like that. So this is kind of a one-way street. Black is going to take the corner territory. White's going to make certain that he's alive. There's no need to Hane here. I also love how AlphaGo played away at points. Like a human wants to continue in this area. Like when there's like stones being played next to each other, you really want to play and continue in the area. But in this case, AlphaGo just says, nope. I'm going to see what you do because this is Sente. If black plays somewhere else, then white will play here, and then black is dead. Okay, black has 1, 2, 3 liberties. White has 1, 2, 3, 4. Black is dead. So there's no getting around that. So black plays here. Kill white. Black plays here. White plays here. And this move was like exquisite. This is the correct response. If black cuts, which you can do, this move makes it a little bit easier to like if let's for example black kills this, black can play here, and the center is totally walled off because it's very difficult for black to come out because of the shortage of liberties. So white wants to get a move like this, and in turn, if white can control the center, sacrificing these stones is a small price to pay to attack the H3 stone and kind of gobble up the entire center. So this is the Hane, but at the same time, there is a ladder at the lower right that we saw, and it was like, this is like the depth of AlphaGo's like tactics, right? So it says, okay, you're going to take my stones, but they're going to be really in a narrow space, and you're going to be over concentrated. And then I'm going to make you pay for each single stone. And I'm going to get ladder breakers and forcing moves and every single little thing I can get out of it. And I just don't know how a human player can keep up with all that. Like all of those very small, subtle details. I felt this game wasn't about like AlphaGo's power; it's about the subtlety of its ability to read the entire board. All right, so white attacks. This is obvious. This is a cool move, and they were saying like it was this. It wasn't clear that white would play this, but I don't see anything that white else without white what other move white would play here. Like my first reaction was just to play the double Hane here and be done with it. I don't see. I mean, what you're gonna do? Play this? This is kind of not. I mean, this is kind of weird shape. For white. It might be a little bit cumbersome too. So I just thought like double Hane makes perfect sense. Here, go around a little bit more. White takes the left side, and so under normal circumstances, most players would be really like upset about the cut a day. Like the cut a day looks really bad. There's got to be something bad there that's going to happen to you. There's going to maybe then your group will become really weak. But if you look at the entire board, that cut is not really that important because if you think about it, white is not really in danger. So long as white has this move here, white can live. And now you're seeing the power of the O9 stone. The O9 stone is essentially saying, I'm going to make sure that this stone dies, but this stone is going to help with any fight in the upper right. So that means that, like, tactically, white is not without options. That's what the power of AlphaGo is. AlphaGo always seems to have an option. It's never forced into one strategy or a one-way street. It's the opponent who's forced into one strategy, and he's forced to just do it. And AlphaGo just pushes him effortlessly into it. So white plays this. This is extremely important. If white doesn't play that, let's say white, invades the other side, becomes really difficult. It's like you can see that there's cutting points everywhere. That's really bad for white. You don't want that. So white plays here, and you're probably thinking that this entire area is going to become territory, and by the end of the game, it won't. Spoiler alert. So black cut and white Tanuki. Like if you think about it, this cut is not big. Like it on the one hand, it is because you want like if you don't, then this middle group becomes unstable. So there's that. So you want to cut to ensure the survival of this middle group, but you're only really saving such a small area. Like if you think of the border as just like this, right? Or up to here as far as territory is concerned. This is small when you compare it to invading the upper right. So black has to take Gote, so white takes the initiative here. Yeah, this is kind of like not that great. Because then white can come in here, and then there's this stuff. And I'm not even sure what to do at this point, because then something's going to die. At some point, something is going to die, and it's going to look real. This is a really ugly shape in all sorts of ways, so you don't want this. So black played here. White create a beautiful Miai here. This is kind of the move I think that represents the ethos of this game. Right, this is how I felt the whole time. White always had a backdoor. White had another choice. White was never like it was forced into a bad decision. Like in Go, a lot of times, if you play poorly, you're forced into a bad decision where you don't really have another option. So like I kind of feel like that's what's like one move that signifies this feeling earlier in the game if I can go all the way back to it, is this move. This is not great. It really does not feel good to force white to cut e3 from h3. But what other choice do you have? What else are you going to do that's going to be better than this? Because otherwise, if white gets the whole lower left corner, that's huge for white. You don't want to just hand it over willy nilly, but at the same time, doing something about it isn't that great. So it feels like black is funneled into bad choices, whereas white always has like two wonderful choices. Like this is like that's why I said it signifies the game. You can go in the corner or you can go on the side. Black chose this. I think one of them was suggested was something like this. I wasn't so sure about this because this hole here in the upper left makes me think that the center is not going to be worth that much in the way of points. And I still think that there's probably some shenanigans where white attaches or white plays like this later that could mean that the corner is going to be sushi. So black needed territory. This is small, lower left is small, the lower right is not that great. So I kind of feel like black is clearly over concentrated here. There's a lot of stones trying to kill stones, and these white stones are going to maintain their usefulness until the very end. So even in death, these white stones are very efficient. Defend, okay, and then we fight a bit. And again, this Q14 is dead, but there's a chance that maybe it will be useful later, and it does be a little bit useful. This move was very AlphaGo-esque, but I kind of feel AlphaGo controls the center more at the middle of the game. I mean, like the before the middle. Like I don't. This move to me, it seems like I actually don't. To be honest with you, I know people says AlphaGo-esque, but I don't really like it because I'm not understanding what the threat is. The white stones here is the only way this move really works if it's threatening to help connect out an invasion in this area. Because there's not much potential in this area for black or white, and there's not much potential in this little small corridor. So the only thing you're aiming at is this over here to try to be able to play moves like, like this, like he played in the game. Right, white played this is the biggest point on the board, and then black's got to try something. This. I guess this is better than this. This shape is too thin, so that you have black to play really solidly. And what's really interesting is that the upper left, like I said, was so solid that the only real aji you have to contend with is if black pulls out, then when black turns, as long as you can hana, you're good. So that really the aji here depends on the liberties of these three stones, right? That's the only aji you have to contend with, and that's only in really specific circumstances. So the upper left is really strong. That's why I was saying the upper left, like black never used the aji from the upper left really that much to his advantage, whereas white pretty much took these stones and wrung them for all they were worth. Okay, and then we had this really cool sequence where white kind of effortlessly lives. Another really cool move. This is very. I actually was thinking about this one. I wanted to put more pressure. I feel like black's attack kind of fizzled early on. Like I think after like white played this, black's attack was pretty much not so great. Because if white can cut this off, then this A move might become useful at some point. So I kind of feel like once white jumped, black didn't have a good answer. So black played a really like solid move here. Okay, and then white pretty much lives, and then these are really huge moves. Black plays here, and this is like really. This is the point of the game where I was like, I looked at this, I was like, huh. You really don't care, do you? You don't really care if like I work so hard for this area as a human, like a human player. I would think that like I would need to defend this because look how many points it is. It's 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 15 points, maybe 20 points. Who knows? It looks big, but strategically, AlphaGo is quite clear on the situation. No, this is your weak group. You play from your weak group. The upper white group at A is a weak group. You play at your weak group and strengthen it until you like forget your other priorities. Like nothing else takes priority unless you're willing to sacrifice this. And so white's not willing to sacrifice. So white kind of gets out. Plays here, white, and this is all very calm, very calm. I was like, there's no counterattack. There's no like white playing something like this, right? What you would expect. You would expect white to play, I don't know, something like to this effect, and then maybe white comes out like this or some sort of crazy fighting. No, just we're going to block and we're going to safely and calmly kill these stones, take our territory, and then white plays here. And then, this is what I'm talking about. Like, white is always clear on the situation. Like, we have to take care of this group up at the top. These three stones are not as important as the stones up here. And while we do that, we can reduce territory. And then white cuts. And this cut, by weakening these three stones, you strengthen the stones at the top. So even though we're doing stuff over here, we're still our main goal of strengthening the top. While I was watching the game, I marked down some points I thought were just, in general, interesting places where I thought players might want to go, or just areas I thought that look like, the hot zones that AlphaGo has. Black play here. And at this point, it looks like AlphaGo has the reins of the game pretty much down. Black actually doesn't have as many points as I thought he would. Like, it looks like his territorial style kind of fizzled out. Like, as soon as he was forced into like a one-way street, like I told you in the invasion earlier, it feels like Black never really had control. This move is great. It is threatening a move like around A to swallow this stone and then turn the entire center to territory, which would mean White's automatic win. I'm not actually sure about this move, to be honest. Because White's answer is beautiful. Like, after White plays here, it's just a beautiful answer. This is such a great like way to respond to this. So I'm wondering if Black has some other like move he could do in here. I'm not really something to really put a bit more pressure on the center. Playing this directly maybe, or something like this. I don't know, something a bit more active, because it just seems like Black let White have a lot just in the amount of territory he needed without a fight. Play here, and then this is another startling move. So this is not like the game with Lee Sato where Black played the fifth line shoulder hit. That's what my general feeling is. I have not found the astonishing moves in this game are the mundane ones. Like, this is another move that if you're like 12Q or 10Q, your teacher may yell at you about, because it's like, why are you going after such small stones? So the idea here is if Black cuts, then White plays here, and Black, of course, cannot take these, because this is a connect and die sort of situation. So there's no way to save them, but you're only going after two stones. So your teacher might say, "Listen, you've got a way out on this edge right here. Why are you bothering taking these two small stones? There's much bigger things on the board, blah, blah, blah." AlphaGo's like, no. Like, isn't it nice that this group at the top is completely alive now and no one can say or do anything about it? Like, by having, like, a friend of mine who plays Go, says, he always tells me, safety, peace of mind is worth a few points. And now White has total peace of mind. Everything of White is totally stable, and there's only one path to take in this game now. And we just play basically endgame, and White just whittles away at Black's points one by one, and it's over with. There was no, big battle. There were no startling moves that, like, humans don't play, except for the moves that, like, where, back when I was 12 or 15Q, I got yelled at. Other than that, this is just normal endgame. There's no like strange Jasujis or anything like that. White took control of the game. White dictated to Black how things were going to go. Black felt like he was funneled or into a one-way street, whereas White at different points in the game always maintained an option. And then when White needed to firmly secure himself, he did. And it's kind of like just this move. Like, humans might go for a little more chaos than this. They might try to go for a little bit more. They might say to yourself, I don't need to have peace of mind about this group, but rationally speaking, it makes sense. Or if we go all the way back, like I just kind of feel like even when here, this is kind of the point in the game when white invades. At this point, and black invades. This is the point where black is supposed to force white into a one-way street that benefits black. But instead, after the invasion, there was no. It didn't seem like black found a really hard way to attack this white group because without doing that, then white gets to control the game again. In fact, I'm not even sure necessarily how you go about doing it. You have to basically since white only has so many ways he can go. I kind of feel that there's got to be some way to use the object in the upper left or something. One of the moves I thought to consider instead of this move because I feel like moves like this eventually give your opponent a weak stone for them to try to capture, and in doing so they get stronger. So I thought maybe something like I don't know this just to kind of like because there is space and everything, but black has so many stones around. There should be something he can do that's a little bit stronger than the other move, or just if you want to be really like aggressive, this, but that's a little bit too low. I thought this is if this would split the upper left from the top corner, and if white plays something like this, you can start to cover him. These white stones will suddenly automatically die, and you may be able to more forcefully go into the center and erase just enough points that you need. There's got to be something more important or more aggressive to play because otherwise, if black can't take the initiative, if black can become aggressive, then we have situations like we have at the very beginning of the game where black is just corralled into the corner, right? Where how else does this play out, right? There's nothing else to play out. You connect on the 3-3 point and you live, and black white gets the outside, and then the rest is pretty much a one-way street. The fight's going to go the way it's going to go, and that's just the way it is. So those are my thoughts. I've included some of my own variations. Obviously, if you were watching the Redmond or Haji Lee and Andrew Jackson, the rest of them did a bang up job. I really enjoyed watching it. I stayed up and I could not contain my enthusiasm to watch his games. Honest to goodness, for the rest of the games, I really expect AlphaGo to just handily win. Klidje is a great guy. He's very strong. I think AlphaGo is just at the point where it wins effortlessly. It has total control of the game. It has perfect strategic clarity. All right, that's all for tonight, and I will join you guys for the next game, which I believe is on Wednesday. There's a lot of different things going on, but I think we have the game Tuesday in Chinese time, Thursday Chinese time, which is Wednesday, and then Friday Chinese time. And there's also some other stuff like pair go matches. I'm more interested in the Klidje match. I'm more interested in seeing how the opening and the new Josekis and all this will turn out. But it's going to be really exciting. All right, catch you next time.